Hey, what's up, blue collar business owner? Welcome back to the Blue Collar Prosperity Podcast. I'm your host, Paul Maska, where we focus on helping guide you to have a prosperous blue collar business. Today, we have with us Brigham Dickinson. Brigham is the founder and president of Power Selling Pros. At Power Selling Pros, they are known as the customer service training company. Welcome, Brigham. Thank you so much for being here. What is going on today?
Well, aside from this podcast, I just did an 8-mile run, getting ready for a Spartan race, not this weekend, but next weekend, Phoenix, Arizona, in Tommy Mello country. Awesome. I don't know if he can claim the entire city, but I mean, if anybody can, it's Tommy, right?
He's got billboards, he's got vans, he's got buildings, and he's got a lot of fans out there in that area. So,
you know what? He actually has a van that takes him around from place to place.
Look at that. He's buying back his time.
Yeah, it's a Sprinter van, and he literally works inside that van. It's like an office-like type of structure inside there. It's pretty darn impressive.
That's amazing, and I'm not surprised. So let's dig into Brigham. How did you get started? How did you get to where you are today with Power Selling Pros? How did that come to be?
It's a great question. The Power Selling Pros was created out of failure, really. Total accident. I had this marketing company. It was a digital marketing company. And when I say company, I was really just a broker. I was a broker for a couple of other digital marketing companies here in Utah. And the way that I got there is that I had just gotten back from a very terrible experience, a failed business. I thought for sure that it was going to go gangbusters, and it went kaput, right? And it was hard. It was difficult. It was I don't know. It was certainly an experience that refined me as an individual. But the company that I had merged my company into was a marketing company. Was this like software company that professed to do a manual J in 4 minutes or less. And anyway, the timing was off, and the technology wasn't as good as we thought it was. And it bombed. It failed, and of course, it was also 2008, which didn't help.
Not at all.
Yeah. And so the business went under, and I was poor growing up. And so I was always afraid of being broke. And so when this whole thing went down in 2008, 4 kids, a wife, and my nightmares became reality. It was very hard. I can remember because before things went down, we bought a season pass to Disney World, and I can remember going there on a regular basis for my kids in the happiest place on earth, and I was never more depressed in my entire life. So it was difficult. It was really hard. But it was during that time where I certainly got my relationship with God was incredibly increased, enhanced, and I thought marketing was kind of all I had, and I white knuckled that for a while, and it was when I finally let go of that old idea, that old way that I used to provide for my family, that something else much better and much greater came about. And so as soon as I let go of that, I started reading several business books and self-help books and so on and so forth. And as I was entrenched in that type of study and learning, I drew the first version of this, the Pattern for Excellence. Now, the Pattern for Excellence is the foundation tool that we use for all of our training and coaching, whether it's CSRs, dispatchers, lead coordinators, and even technicians, training them the same process. Now, it's not a sales process at all. It's actually a set of principles that work with any sales process that a company uses, whether it's CSRs or techs. And so when I first drew this, one of my clients back in Salt Lake City, Utah, Troy Engineering's Plumbing and Heating, called me in because at the time I was that broker, right? I was doing that broker work for a digital marketing company. He brought me in and he said, "Hey, your leads are no good." And I said, "What do you mean my leads are no good? You're getting leads, right? The phone's ringing." He's like, "Yeah, the phones are ringing, but the people calling in just want a ballpark price. They just want to know what you charge to come out. They just want to talk to a technician. These are price shoppers. We can't book these calls. And I said, look, it's not the call. It's the people who's answering the phone. They need to learn how to book those calls. You're not just order taking anymore. You actually need to convince the customer that they called the right place. And so what they're looking for when they're asking for a price is they're asking for value. When they say, how much is it? Or how much do you charge? What they're saying is I don't know the difference between you and the next guy aside from your price. Your team needs to be trained, Troy. And he's like, oh, okay. You want to train him? And I said, well, that's a whole lot better alternative than losing the account. So yeah, I'll train them. So I started training them and their call conversions went up by 20%. And then Troy's buddy, Tom Robichaud in Boulder, Colorado, Precision Plumbing and Heating, gave me a call and he said, hey, I hear you're working with Troy. And I said, yep, I'm working with Troy. And he said, that's great. How about you work with my team too? I said, sounds good, but I've got to do your marketing. And he's like, no, I got that covered, but I'll pay you to train my team. Of course, this light bulb came up over my head. I was like, oh my gosh, I can make a living training CSRs. This is crazy. And so come to find out that CSRs, dispatchers, lead coordinators, everybody in the office, that group tends to be the most neglected group in the entire organization most of the time, regardless of the company. Every business owner has a lot of experience with their techs. They lean heavy on their techs because they used to be one. So they're constantly working with their techs to make things happen. And the downside to that is that they don't have time. The owners don't have time to give the same attention to the CSRs, the dispatchers, lead coordinators. And so what we do, right, or what I've always done from the beginning, is to give the CSR the attention they need, they deserve on a regular basis to help them feel important, to help them feel that they're needed, and just give them the attention that they need so that they can perform at the highest level possible. So the ongoing coaching is extremely important. It's one thing to train somebody, right? You train them once and they're good for a couple of weeks. But if you're constantly working with them, constantly reminding them, and look, some say, well, how much frequency should there be? Personally, every day. We should be training techs every day. We should be motivating techs every day. It's funny how, same thing with CSRs. We should be training them every day. Now, I realize that that's a big ask, right? Okay, cool. Start somewhere, right? Is it once a month? Great. Do it and be consistent. And then drop it down to twice a month and then 4 times a month. And then you can kind of work your way down, but you'll find that the more you work with your team and train them, the more successful you're going to be. Now, as far as the reason why I bring up Texas, because I have found that their first call is always the hardest. It's like a warm-up call. You give them that first call in the morning and they come out of that call going, oh, I should have done this better. I could have done that better. I could have done this better. And so I'm going, dude, make your first call in the office. In other words, practice with your peers first thing in the morning for a half hour. Go over your entire process in that half hour. And then you've got that first call out of the way. And then you go out, you make it happen. That's why training, in my opinion, every day is so important. Same thing with the CSRs. And so anyway, Tom Robichaud, it's a long story, Paul, but so Tom Robichaud and Troy got together, referred me to Mike Gugliero in East Brunswick, New Jersey, owner of Gold Medal. And of course, Gold Medal sold several years ago. It was one of the first that sold for big time money. And then he started CEO Warrior, and that thing blew up. And now he's got another awesome company he's working on called Food Dog Group. Saw him at Pantheon a few weeks ago. So good to see him and his son, who was like, he's already written a book. He's a genius. You could just tell, so really cool family, the Agugliero family. But once Mike and I started working together, he said, Brigham, if you do a good job, I'm going to refer you to everybody. And sure enough, he referred me to everyone. I started hiring all my friends, Paul. I don't have a lot of friends. I pay them all. They all started working with us, and we've been working together ever since. And we went from training only 6 CSRs with Troy, and now we have over 1,100 CSRs that we're coaching one-on-one twice a month using their own phone calls. And the biggest reason why is is that tech owners who used to be technicians are spending all their times with techs, and they should, and they don't have any time left over to give the CSRs, dispatchers, lead coordinators the time and attention they need. So we go in and we do it for them. We're very good. We're very good at what we do, and we just work in tandem with the business owner to keep the CSRs as motivated and excited and performing at a high level as the technicians.
Love it. Great story, Brigham. Kudos to you, and kudos to failing in the marketing company so that way you could start this and help so many people. Couple things. One of the things I love the idea of, and when you were telling me, I was thinking about sports. I like to equate a lot of things in business to sports, but warming up before you go to your first call, it'd be like, if you don't, it's like going to just play the game, like straight off the bus, straight out of your car, right to the game. Versus if you watch any professional athlete, they're there hours before, warming up, getting all the bad stuff out, getting their mindset right, doing all those things. And to your point, most of the time, our technicians, they're tired, they're still half asleep, and they roll into their first call and, make some excuse of why the person said no. But let's focus on the CSRs, because like you said, it's funny, the when you start drawing these lines together, yes, probably 99% of owners in the trades were the technician that wanted to start their own business. They knew they could do it better, and it's like, we just need someone to answer the phone. I don't know, answer the phone, figure it out, keep my schedule full. Mm-hmm. Then as you start growing, scaling, now it's like, okay, should we do any more of this? So for the listeners out there, what are some signs that they could pick up on or see or feel that like tells them, hey, red flag, your CSRs probably need some training?
You go into the office and you see one of the CSRs crying, and there's another one consoling them. And what do you usually do? You beeline it to your office and wait till it's over. Those individuals are answering your phones. They're talking to your customers. They are the first impression your customer has of the company. Don't you dare walk into the office. What you do is you sit down with them and say, hey, what's going on? And I learned this from Johnny Covey, great author, awesome trainer. He's probably got the best mental health book on the market. So for those of you listening, Johnny Covey, look him up, look his stuff up. It's good stuff. But basically, he says there are 3 commitments you've got to make to yourself. Number 1 is you got to be respectful. You've got to do your best and accept the best of others. And you've got to be present. All right. So when somebody is crying in the office, something went down, right? Something went down and it hurt them, took them off their game. So somebody, I don't know, perhaps the leader needs to go in there and say, hey, what's going on? And then in a way, you make those commitments. All right. So we're going to be respectful, right? Yep. We're going to be respectful. We're going to do our best. We're going to accept the best of others. Yes. Cool. Now we're going to get present. Where are you at right now? Well, here's where I'm at. Okay. Well, what's going on? Well, my kid got into trouble last night and I had to pick him up from somebody's house. He was throwing water balloons at ongoing cars or incoming cars and really upset some people and really could have hurt some people. And the police pulled him over and I had to go pick him up last night. And I'm just feeling like a failure as a mom or whatever. Right. Okay. And so right there, our goal is to get them to think about what they're thinking, and consider how they feel about those thoughts that they're having, and then what to do differently moving forward. Right. Because sometimes we get caught in our heads. When we get stuck in our heads, we're protecting everything that we've got, right? We're white knuckling, just like I did when I first realized my business was going under and it wasn't going to work the way I was. White knuckling. I was protecting the thing that I had. I had to have it, right? But what I needed to do instead of protecting is I need to recognize where I was at and recognize that I need to change in order to progress. Something needed to change in me in order to progress. And so same thing with the CSRs. Something needs to change in order for you to progress, in order for you to move past this, get out of your head. And the way Johnny Covey says it is into your heart. Because why? Well, we've got 2 operating systems. We have an operating system in our head. And if we're stuck in our heads, we're protecting. And we get into either fight or flight or flight mode. Now with fight, there's this thing called aggression or anger, right? When we're fighting, those are the things that come up. Now, look, there's a chemical that's released in your body when you're angry. It takes about 20 minutes for it to get flushed out. So it's not just about counting to 10. You've actually got to leave the situation and be gone for at least 25 minutes to let that chemical flush out of your body. That's what happens when you're angry. In flight, we're feeling fear. We're feeling a lot of anxiety. Now, a little anxiety is great. This is how we get homework done, right? I got to get my homework done when we're in school, or I've got to get that done or this done. Little anxiety is great. Keeps us motivated, keeps us going. And this is why, side note, we want to be very careful about self-medicating, because it'll get rid of that little anxiety that helps us get things done. Be very careful with that. A lot of anxiety, that's what creates depression. And it's very hard to get anything done because your brain's just going a million miles a minute. So you've got to get out of your head, whether it's fight or flight, you've got to get out of your head. And the way that you do that, you keep the commitments, be respectful, do your best, accept the best of others, and be present in the moment. Once you keep those commitments, it's going to put you down in that other operating system, your heart. Now, the cool thing about operating from your heart is it's a place of gratitude. Okay. Cool thing about gratitude is it unlocks truth. It unlocks what's real, what's accurate. That's what you need right now, especially when you're feeling the way that you're feeling. You need to operate from the truth, from what is right, what is accurate. And then once you get down there into your heart, you can be able to look at the situation as it is. And then based on being able to look at the situation as it is, you could make choices that will help you progress and help you change. So business owners, whether they like it or not, need to get better at helping others with their mental health. Okay. When somebody has mental health issues, it is absolutely going to affect their work and their performance. Now, why do they have such mental health issues these days? Well, because all the social networks that we used to have that help us cope with this sort of thing in the past isn't there anymore. Here's what I mean by that. People don't go to church as often as they used to. People marry on much later in life. Statistically, married couples who have a successful marriage are more successful. When you look at the numbers and you look at the statistics, a happy marriage is a very good thing for success and for growth and progress. Debt. People are experiencing more debt than they've ever experienced before. So they're under this emotional bondage because of the fact that they owe so much money to whoever. So because of all these reasons and more, people are more depressed than they've ever been. So we don't have a choice. It's like we're the last entity that can, businesses are the last entity that can help individuals. Why? Because they're with us 8 to 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, maybe even 6 days a week. If they're not going to church, if they're not involved in social groups like they used to be, if they're not teaching, if they're not being taught these coping skills, and then it's left to us. And guess what? If they can develop their mental toughness, that's how we get them to perform at their highest level. And if it's you that did that, that helps them become loyal to you, loyal to your cause. This is why it's so important as a business owner to create vision inside of an organization. Guys, this is where we're going. This is why it's so important. This is why it's more important than any one individual in this organization. I've got a friend named Mike in Oklahoma. He runs a company called Hope Heating and Cooling. He doesn't do any advertising at all. All he does is once a month, he does a day of service where he's fixing roofs, he's fixing old dishwashers, he washes people's clothes. He is constantly helping. His entire team takes the day off and just serves that entire day. What's crazy is that entire day, there's publicity. There's journalists that come and do stories on him. And he's becoming the most popular organization in his city. Why? Because he is all about service, all about giving, and it's given the entire team a sense of purpose. You see, when we have a sense of purpose, we're driven to perform at an extremely high level. And if we're feeling down because of something going on in our personal lives, that's okay. We can set it aside, because as fearful or concerned as we might be feeling in the moment, that's not as important as this great purpose that we're working towards. So when you ask, hey, Brigham, what's the biggest issue you see in the CSR department? The biggest issue I see is mental health.
Yeah, I mean it's powerful stuff, and I love how you kind of align it to, do we have a vision? Is everyone aligned in the vision? And are we working together to achieve that vision? And the only way to do that is if everyone's on board. And if everyone's on board, they got the mental health, and the entire picture you painted is 100% true. So with that, let's go into just like a little bit of tactical stuff for anybody out there that has gotten to this point and they're like, you know what? It reminds me of 20 minutes ago when you're talking about, I talked to so many business owners like, no, they're just price shopping. No, nobody wants to buy anything right now. Oh, they were just calling around. You help solve that problem for your very first client. And now you do that every single day, helping those CSRs overcome that pushback. What are just some like tips, tricks, tactics, mindset that our CSRs, people answering the phone, and even really technicians, because they're going to get that same thing too. How do we start to overcome that? And going back to what you just said, a place of service. How do we serve those people calling that are quote unquote just calling around?
So we've got to get our CSRs, dispatchers, lead coordinators to get to the point where they're willing to put in the work. We can get really lazy in the summer and the winter when we're just literally order taking, when we're practically doing them a favor by answering the phone. And then what happens is we get lazy. And so the shoulder season comes up, and then all of a sudden we start getting all these calls. Hey, I'm just going for a ballpark price. I just want to charge to come out. I just want to talk to a technician. And we mentally check out as soon as we hear it. Price shopper. And then we go into Service Titan. We put it in the abandoned call list. We go, see, it doesn't even affect my numbers. That wasn't even a bookable call. And none of that's true. So instead, we need to teach them correct principles. And once they learn these correct principles, they'll better govern themselves. Okay. So here's what I mean by that. Everybody's going to have a system. They're all going to use a sales process. Hey, just use this sales process. Yeah. They'll use the sales process until one day it doesn't work for one customer and they go, see, process doesn't work. And then they throw out the process and go back to what they were doing before, which is even worse. So instead, we've got to teach them correct principles. Right. So what are the correct principles? They're right here in the pattern for excellence. Okay, there's 8 of them. Our goal is to be super positive and upbeat. We need to constantly work on that. And we can talk about that in a minute. But that their demeanor's got to be contagiously positive. All right. Electric, contagious energy. That's number 1. Number 2, they've got to be well practiced, well prepared in what they're doing. And what that does is that inspires confidence, right? You've got to, that confidence needs to ooze out of you over the phone. You need to show them that you're listening. They need to feel understood. They have an emotionally, the customer, the homeowner has an emotional need to feel understood, cared about, reassured. And that's where the listening, the caring, and the saying yes come into play. And when I say saying yes, the goal here is to always focus in on what we can do and never what we cannot do. We want to ask the right questions. We want to create value. We want to be valuable. And the way that we do that is by creating value. And of course, we want to be grateful. Why? Because gratitude unlocks truth. All right. When you say thank you, what you're saying to somebody is that they made a difference. And when people feel like they made a difference, they become loyal, right? They feel important and they become loyal to you, loyal to your cause. And that's our goal. Our goal is to get homeowners to become loyal to us. All right. So those are the principles. That's how we create a wow experience, right? All right. So once you've mastered those principles, customer gets on the phone. What we're going to do is we're going to get really good at applying these principles. Now, remember, a customer wants to feel understood, cared about, reassured. Okay. Understood that you get their situation, what they're dealing with, that you care about it, truly, sincerely care about it. And then simply reassure them that they've called the right place. Because guess what? When they call, they don't know. They don't know that they've called the right place. All right. So when a customer gets on the phone and they say, hey, I want a ballpark price. And you simply say, great. Tell me more about your situation. What's going on? Well, I've got this air conditioner. It's blowing hot air. My gosh, that's terrible. How long has it been doing that? Oh, last couple of days. So wait a minute. You've been in this heat for the last couple of days? Yeah. My son's 4 months old. He can't go without AC. I've been hanging out at my mom's house for the last 2 days. I don't know what to do. Well, look, you called the right place. We can totally help you. When would you like us out? Oh, this afternoon would be good. Now the back end going, Whoa, wait, what just happened there? Well, it's not logical. It doesn't make sense because it's not supposed to make sense. It's emotional. Okay, a customer gets on the phone, they say, hey, I just want to talk to a tech. What they're saying is that I've probably had a couple of other guys come out to my home. They gave me a price. I didn't like it. So I'm calling around to see if I can get a better price. Okay. So they felt like they've been given the runaround and they're trying to shorten up the process. Hey, I was hoping I could just talk to a technician. Great. We've got a lot of those. Let me make sure I'm sending out the right one. Can you tell me more about your situation? What's going on? Well, I've got this air conditioner that's blowing hot air. Gosh, it's terrible. How long has it been doing that? Well, last couple of days. Sound familiar? Does this sound familiar? You see a pattern here? This is why we call it the pattern for excellence, because it's a pattern, right? Customer gets on the phone. Hey, what do you charge to come out? It really depends on your situation. Can you tell me more about it? What's going on? Oh, I've got this air conditioner that's blowing hot air. So you put them into that funnel by listening. The less talking you do, the more intelligent you'll sound.
That is true. And I really you're redirecting and asking questions to get more information so you can better serve them. Going back to the original thought of, hey, we just need to serve these people. They think they need X, but we can actually serve them better when we actually ask the right questions to help them solve the problem they called for in the first place. So one last thing kind of on call centers. I know through this conversation and listening to you on other platforms, you're big into not just looking at the call center. There's 4 ladies in the office. They answer the phones. I don't know what they do all day. They answer phones, book calls, blah, blah, blah. But you're really big in we're not just a call center. We're a profit center. Give our listeners a little bit of insight into what that means to you, how it happens, why it happens, everything behind that concept.
So once the CSRs have learned the principles and the pattern for excellence, and they've embodied them to the point where they're not only using them at work, they're using them at home, and they realize how much more influential they've become with their kids, with their neighbors, in church, right? They're realizing that this skill set is helping them elsewhere. The goal is to help them positively affect their income. We want to get them to the point where they're able to sell service agreements on inbound phone calls. Okay, so let's say we've mastered the pattern for excellence. Customer gets on the phone, they've booked, they're wowed. At the end of that phone call, simply say, hey, Mr. Jones, I'm looking at your notes. I noticed you don't have a membership with us. I'm wondering why not. That's it. That's the only question we want to ask. Now, let's say we take 30 calls a day, and 20 out of the 30, the customer says, oh, no, I'm good. And you don't want to push it, right? Especially over the phone. No big deal. Just be sure to ask your technician about it if you have any questions. All right, sounds good, right? Keep it simple. Well, that means that there are 10 that will say, well, what is it? Okay, if they like you, right? They feel safe. They feel comfortable. They're having a little bit of fun over the phone, because that's what the pattern's supposed to do: create safety, fun, a little bit of and comfort, right? Comfortable. When they're there, that's a buying mode. Mr. Jones, I'm looking at your notes. I noticed you don't have a membership with us. I'm wondering why not. Well, what is it? So those 10 people ask, what is it? And let's say that 2 out of the 10 decide to do it. And as a business owner, if you're smart, and I know you are, all the listeners, everybody here is listening, that's listening is super smart. You'd give them $10. Give them $10 per membership. Now, let's do some math together, Paul. If they sell 2 a day, this is one CSR, they make $20, an extra $20 a day. Okay. Times 5 days in a week, right? What is that? It's $100. Now, there aren't 52 weeks in a year. Well, there are 52 weeks in a year, actually, but we don't work 52 weeks in a year, right? We have days off and so on and so forth. We have some PTO and such. So let's just say 50. So $100 times 50 weeks is $5,000. Now, when a CSR is able to see for themselves that they can legitimately make an extra $5,000 a year, that changes things for them. This is the sort of thing that helps them become self-reliant, independent. Now you've created a career for that CSR. Now, once you've created that career, And again, the service agreement is a gateway drug to selling all kinds of other things. Imagine a CSR who is on the phone with a customer, and as they're talking to them, they say, hey, did you know that we also do plumbing? Hey, did you realize that we also do solar or generators or whatever? Just want to make sure you knew, because I was looking at your notes. I noticed you've only done heating and cooling with us, and I want to make sure you know that we also provide these other services. And crazy thing, if something comes up, why? Because the customer does feel safe. They do feel comfortable. They are having a little bit of fun. In that buying zone, you can basically talk about all the services you provide and book another appointment. Now, don't book 2 appointments on top of each other. The last thing you want is 4 guys in there at the same time. That's overwhelming. Okay. Make sure you book it at 2 different times. But if a CSR does that, wouldn't you compensate them for that? Of course you would. Your comfort advisors go out to homes. They don't sell everybody. Even if they're closing 60% of the time, that means 40% aren't being closed there in the home. Now, and we know that comfort advisors don't have time or the wherewithal to call these people back. They say they do, but you and I both know that they do not. And so we want to give the CSRs the tools to start calling out and rebook those appointments, and maybe even close those appointments right over the phone. If they know how to create an environment of safety, comfort, and fun over the phone, that buying environment, they can do that. And here's one more thing for you to consider, Paul. The best type of replacement lead is a technician set lead. We know that, right? Comfort advisors, they want to go out on those tech set leads all day long. What about a CSR set lead? CSRs looking at the notes, notice that this person calling in, we've worked on their system 3 times and the system's probably 12 years old. Mr. Jones, I'm looking at your notes. I noticed that we've been out to your home 3 times over the years, taking care of that system of yours. Yes, you've done such a great job. Awesome. Well, you've gotten some great life out of that system. Have you ever considered replacing it? What's the worst they can say? No? But let's say they do say yes. Great. You've got the service call scheduled, and now for a different time, schedule the replacement call as well. And you set that lead. And if you set that lead, should you not compensate the CSR for that? So what's my point here, Paul? We are underutilizing our CSRs, dispatchers, and coordinators. And as a result, we're not stretching them by making them part of the selling process. Life is sales. Everybody should be better at sales. And your CSRs don't stay there because they're not being challenged and they're not getting the attention that they need. But if we can give them the attention they need, guess what? When the phones aren't ringing, they won't be caught reading their favorite novel. Okay? Instead, they'll be calling out because they've realized by selling service agreements on those inbound calls that they can make as much money as they want to make right there in that seat. They don't need to go anywhere. They just need to be better at being part of the process. You see, our goal here is to get them to progress. Okay? Our goal here is for them to get out of their heads and consider what's possible, right? Instead of them white knuckling what they've got, to actually let go of that, operate from their hearts, and progress through sales. Make money through sales. Create autonomy through sales. Let them become part of the selling process and not just the gal that answers the phone in the back office.
That's amazing. And I love a couple of things I love. One, you're actually providing a career and you're instilling that into them. You're not just the person who answers the phone, because we talk to people every day. Hey, what do you do? I just answer the phone. I just whatever. They kind of discredit what they actually do and the opportunity they have. A lot of times, to your point, we're not giving them that opportunity. So when you can have them go through that progression, at first, let's just master, inbound booking jobs. Then let's master selling agreements. Then let's master offering other services. Then let's master outbound. And eventually this person can be making 6 figures, super valued part of the organization with, like you said, unlimited earning potential. So the picture you painted, the path you've painted, the path you create for all these CSRs is phenomenal. And for any business owner out there that's not doing this and seeing their CSR's call center as an actual opportunity to become a profit center, it's definitely leaving a lot on the table. So as we wrap this up, Brigham, we've talked about a lot of different things. We talked about mindset. We talked about CSRs. We've talked about training. We talked about all the things in between there. if you could give our listeners just one thing they could take immediate action within the next 24 hours to start moving the needle forward, what is that one thing that you would recommend they go do?
Remember, a customer has three human emotional needs, right? They want to feel understood. They want to feel cared about. They want to feel reassured. If you can teach your CSRs 3 applications, and I'll just give you 3-word phrases, okay? Tell me more. That's not good. I can help. Tell me more. That's not good. I can help. And practice it with them over and over and over again. When they master, tell me more. That's not good. I can help. They'll book 70% of their calls. Now, chances are they're at 60 now, right? Or less. Okay, according to Service Titan, the industry average is 42% calls versus set appointments.
That's not good.
No. See? Very good. Tell me more. That's not good. I can help. Teach them those 3 things, and you'll see an increase in your call conversion immediately.
Love it. Super, super actionable too, and super easy to remember. And I really tell me more. That's helpful in every walk of life of just being someone that cares. If someone comes to you with a problem, going back to the initial mindset, mental health conversation of you walk in, your CSR is having a bad day, and the other CSR is talking to them, just go over there, tell me more, and just let them talk, and they're going to see that you care, they feel understood, all the things that we've talked about the entire time. So tell me more. That's not good. I can help. Brigham Dickinson, thanks again for coming on the show, sharing your journey, and providing a ton of actionable advice and wisdom for all the blue collar business owners out there as we continue on this journey to prosperity. Before we sign off, though, where can others go to keep in touch with you, learn more about you and Power Selling Pros?
Yeah, so go to powersellingpros.com, POWERSELLINGPROS.com. You can learn a ton of information there. There's also a place, a link where you can click on a demo and get a free consultation. Let's talk together about your team, what they're doing, how they're doing it, and then perhaps there's a lot more that we can do together. Powersellingpros.com.
There it is, guys. Powersellingpros.com. Brigham, thanks again for your time today. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you, Paul.